Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about the Eachine VR D2 Pro goggles, and these are an updated version of the VRD2s, and in fact they use the same casing as the older version, but you can see that they've used different buttons here, and they've stopped using this little panel here, and these buttons don't work anymore because there are no buttons here. And I found out that these holes are here because there was a sticker here before, I guess, and apparently fell off at some point. And that's how I determined that this is the exact same case that they used in the previous version. But I think the receiver is a little bit different. The software is a little bit different. I think they've made some changes to the DVR. For example, you can now do HD recording. It's 1280 by 720 or 720p video recording. It's still, recording analog video, but the quality is actually pretty damn good. Now, as I mentioned, the case is the same as before, so if you had the previous version and you had issues with the fit of the case, then you're going to have issues with this one as well, in terms of the fit on your face. Now, I opted to go with the thinner foam instead of the thicker foam, and I probably should have gone with the thicker foam because I have a little bit of light leakage on the edges here, like just a tiny bit in really bright sunlight. However, the screen itself is super bright, so I can barely notice it when I'm flying around. There's some felt that you're supposed to put over here in the nose area, but my nose doesn't actually come anywhere near touching this, so I just opted not to put that on. But if your face is close to it, you probably want to put that on so you don't cut yourself on this little hard plastic. There's adjusters here for the magnifying lens or the Fresnel lens, so you can bring the image closer or further away. They made some improvements to the strap. I think the previous strap was a little bit harder, like hard plastic back here. I think they also changed the battery. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's still it's a 2S lithium ion pack, 2200 milliamp. It lasts a really long time. I think I only charged it one time, and I've been using it for over a week now. So it's a pretty strong battery. And the fact that it's got this little strap back here that holds it to the back of your head, it keeps the weight off of your face, which is nice. And this is a diversity receiver system, and I'm actually using two circular polarized antennas. It comes with this patch antenna, but I tend to not fly far from where I sit, usually proximity and a lot of micros, so this kind of was useless. Because it's a narrow beam and it's more for penetration and distance, and I find that having two circular antennas is better for me. And what I usually do is I have one antenna that is upright and then one that is at about a 90-degree angle, and it kind of gives me both up and down coverage and side to side coverage. So if I fly over me, then I get this antenna here will cover the stuff that's above and below me, because the radiation pattern is going to be like a donut shape around the antenna like this. Go ahead and power it on. Now, one thing that I was having some issues with initially was sometimes I'd plug it in and it wouldn't turn on, and I determined that the little barrel plug here wasn't really that I got snug, and there's a little pin on the inside here, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's basically two prongs, and if you spread those out, it'll create more friction on the inside of the barrel plug. And I think that's what there was basically no contact there, so it wouldn't power on. So once I did that, I didn't have any issues with it turning on. So if you have that problem, it's a little flathead screwdriver will do that. Just kind of twist it to spread it a little bit, and then you should be able to plug it in no problem. Okay, so one thing you should be aware of when you plug it in, and if your camera is not matching the receiver is expecting. So for example, right now it's set to NTSC, and my camera here is outputting PAL. And if you do that, you're going to get this crazy picture here. And unfortunately, that's one of the downsides. Is you got to switch based on whatever camera you've got, whereas Fatsharks will automatically determine which one it is and switch to whatever is appropriate. The menu system, I'll get to that in a second, is kind of convoluted, and another one of the downsides, it's a little hard to use, but after I figured out how to use it, it's actually not that bad. Let me go ahead and switch this to NTSC, and then we'll take a look at the menus. Okay, first off, I should probably point out all the buttons here. And you kind of need to memorize them if this is on your face, because pressing the wrong button will get you in the wrong place pretty quick. You got a scan button here that will scan the whole band to try and find your channel that you're broadcasting at. I found that it is a little hit and miss on that. Sometimes it finds it right away, sometimes it kind of goes through the whole band and doesn't find anything, and then it goes through it again. Sometimes on the second or third try it'll get it. I tend to not like to use that. I will just go and change all my channels one by one. To basically change your channels, there's no band and channels like there was in the previous version. You just basically press the up or the down button, and it'll go through every frequency one by one. So I think there's 40 channels. So if you press this 40 times, it'll cycle through every channel on every band sequentially. So it'll go from the lower numbers, from like I think it was 5645 all the way up to 5965, one by one. I'll show that to you in the. There's actually a little screen or a little RSSI meter and channel frequency number in the lower left corner of the screen itself. But you have these the plus and minus button. You have the menu button that brings up your menu. And there's another thing about that. It basically, if you press the button, it'll bring the menu up, and then there's several pages of menus, and you hit the plus button to go to the next page in the menu. If you press the menu button again, it actually selects. So you don't want to do that. The cam DVR button brings up the DVR function, and you need to hit that button, and then if you want to record, you hit the plus button, and then go back, hit the quit button to go back into your regular AV feed. Basically, it's like an AV switcher. And if you fly with the DVR feed, it's very laggy and you'll probably crash. So it's a little hard to get into the DVR. You get in the DVR, start the recording, quit the DVR, go back to flying, and then you have to go back into the DVR, hit the plus button again to stop the recording. So it's a little bit kind of a hassle. Then once you're in the DVR, then this DVR menu button becomes active, and then you can go through the selections for the DVR using this. However, there's I think 2 or 3 pages of that menu, and to get into that menu you have to long press this button. If you just press it, it doesn't do anything at first. If you long press it, it'll activate the DVR menu, and then each short press will then act as a selector, and then use the plus and the minus button to go through the different menu items within each option. So it's a bit cumbersome to figure out, but once you figure it out, it's actually not that hard to use. So let me go ahead and show you what's on the screen. So here in the lower left hand corner you have a voltage reading, and that's the voltage reading on your battery, and it'll let you know when you need to recharge it. The next line is your frequency, and I'm currently on 5860. That's Fatshark 7. And then the A and the B are your RSSI for each antenna, and it shows you a signal strength for each antenna. Now you can see that it's kind of halfway through there. You can do an RSSI calibration to get that actually closer to what it should be, but I found that it's not really necessary. It doesn't really change your reception capability that much. It just changes the strength of the bar there. So I'm actually really close to my transmission source, so that bar should be all the way over, and if you calibrate your RSSI, that will change that. But the downside of that is you have to do that every time you power up, which is kind of a pain in the butt, so I don't actually do that anymore. So I'm going to press the menu button to bring up the menus, and this is the actual menus for the screen itself, so you can change your backlight, brightness, contrast, those settings. Now to get to the second page of the menu, you hit menu and then the plus button to get to the second page. And here you can change your camera. So if you have a PAL camera, then you go into there. So you hit select that, and then select this again, and then you can change your camera setting from PAL to NTSC or vice versa. So I'm just going to leave it as NTSC. I bring up the menu again, and then the third page you got language, H and V position, and OSD timeout, which means how long it'll be on the screen before it times out, and the transparency level. And on the fourth page you got diversity, which is automatic, and then you have Calibrate Rssi, and you have band scan. So let me just show you how the Calibrate Rssi function. And you can see here it actually goes through the entire band. It determines the signal strength of everything that's being transmitted. You can see where the spike is, that's where I'm transmitting currently. And you can see there up at the top the min and max values. Okay, so now that we've calibrated our RSSI, you can see now that I'm right next to the source and our RSSI signal is very strong, which is the way it should be. Okay, we'll go back into the menu again, and we'll select the next page after that. And this is the last one. Is a reset display ratio. I'll leave it at 16:943 as it doesn't look that good on this screen. You can change overscan and sharpness. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up the DVR. So you press the camera DVR button here. And then that will change the image there to this menu. And you can see there in the lower right, the little red dot, it's not blinking, which means it's not recording, and it shows you how much record time you have. I think I've got a 32 gigabyte card in there, and it's like 18 hours of recording time. And if you press the plus button that's next to the cam DVR, that'll start the recording. So once you do that, the numbers turn red and the little red dot starts blinking, and that starts your recording. And then you can actually leave that recording, go back to the normal screen where it's not laggy. This is the normal AV output, and it'll still be recording, but there's no indicator on the screen that it's recording, and that's kind of a bummer. So go back into the DVR, and you can see that it is still recording, and then you press the plus button again to stop the recording. And if you want to get into the DVR menu, it's the second one over. Right here, you have to long press it, and then it brings up the DVR menu. So you can see there's actually two pages. There's this tab, and then there's that little tab next to it. That's a little, looks like a little paintbrush. That's additional settings. If you want to select, you just short press the DVR menu button. So I can change from VGA to D1 and HD if I want to change the different recording sizes. I'm going to leave it at VGA for now. And if I want to get to the next tab there, that little paintbrush, or for more settings, you long press the DVR menu button, and then you get to the setup. And here you can format the SD card, language, you can reset your system settings, etc. here. And to get out of the menu, you long press the button once again to get out of. Okay, so what's the bottom line with these goggles? And my recommendation is I like them, and I think that if you're considering goggles, get this one and not the VRO7s. I thought the reception on that one was pretty poor compared to this one. And I know that some other reviewers out there were having issues with the fit of this on their face, and also the reception. Obviously, you can't do anything about the fit. It's either going to fit or it's not, and if it doesn't, obviously you're not going to like it. So I would suggest is if you know someone that has the first version of this, go and check it out and see if it fits your face or not. And if it does, then I wouldn't worry too much about the reception issues. I think that maybe some people that had reception problems or just had maybe a dud perhaps. My reception has been really, really good. This diversity receiver is probably on par with the setup I have on my Fatshark goggles, and I'll make sure what I actually normally fly with. I usually fly this. This is the Fatshark Dominator V3s, 16x9, and I have a TrueD Furious FPV TrueD diversity module, and I fly with two Emax Pagoda antennas. And my reception is really, really good in this, and the reception on this setup here is also really good. And so what I did was I actually flew with this, and I put this on the desk next to me in my house, and I flew the DYS Elf downstairs into so basically one floor down and into the garage. So there's like a floor and several walls in between both of these receivers, and just to test how good the breakup is and how good the quality of the reception is. And I'll put that video here side by side of the Fatshark with the TrueD diversity module and the VRD2 diversity setup, and you will see how good that video is. Now, obviously, I don't really fly much, in far distance, because I don't really do a lot of I don't fly a lot of places where there's big places where I can fly. So I'm not gonna be able to test that in terms of like overall range. But for my kind of flying, where I fly indoors or around a lot of trees or basically behind a lot of objects, I thought the receiver on this was actually pretty good and fairly comparable to this setup here. So I'll just put the video up side by side. You can just look at the results for yourself and figure out whether you think that's better or not. So you don't have to trust my opinion, you just watch the video. I also put a little bit of a clip of the HD recording from this DVR, which is 1280 by 720. It'll be upscaled to 1080p, but it'll give you an idea of what that kind of video quality is like, and I think that's pretty impressive. So I think it would be a good idea to put a little clip in there for you guys to see that as well. Other than that, my recommendation is I like this goggle. I think you should get it if you are looking for a pair of beginner goggles or first set. This is totally a usable pair of goggles. The image quality is good. The screen is bright. It really comes down to whether or not this will fit your face and whether or not you have the eyesight for this. Like, for example, if you're really farsighted and you need some sort of glasses, and this is probably not going to work out for you at all, just because you have to mod this and adjust the lens, and it's going to be a lot of work to do that. I know some people have done that, but I just couldn't imagine doing all that for that. Probably, if you have those kind of needs, then you probably would have to go with something more expensive like a Fatshark anyway. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to go ahead and roll that side-by-side video and some other sample video in this next segment. Let me know what you guys think of that. Also, leave me any comments or questions as well, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.